So last week, Capcom released a video called Dragon's Dogma 2 Official Different Ways to Play Gameplay Overview Trailer. Now this video got clowned on so hard that they actually decided to take it down from their official YouTube channel. Luckily, IGN kept it, and just looking at the like-dislike ratio, it's easy to see that players are not happy with this at all. There is a lot of passive-aggressive comments here, and people are agreeing. Honestly, I have no idea why they are showing us this now. It's basically a video where they are talking about gameplay mechanics most people have figured out months ago. But in this video, we are not going to add to the shit pile any further. Dragon's Dogma 2 is a game I care about, and although I think they could have handled things differently, it's like seeing your best friend getting bullied. You want to back them up, but also give them advice on how to prevent it from happening again. So, we are going to go through some of the most popular comments here and dissect this whole situation, as well as covering what could have been done by Capcom to save face after launch. Now, the comments on the IGN YouTube video is actually pretty mild compared to what they are saying over on X. Almost every post Capcom have made over there gets completely torn apart with hateful comments, but we're gonna cover that later. The most popular comment on the video simply states, "The game needs more unique enemies." Of course, I couldn't agree more, and to put things into perspective, we had more enemy variety in the base game of Dragon's Dogma than the sequel. If you consider the Dark Arisen expansion as well, the list gets even longer. Vile Eyes, Gargoyles, Man-Eaters, Gore Cyclops, different types of elemental dragons, Cockatrice, Hydra, Evil Eye, Living Armor, Eliminators, and of course Death himself, are all enemies I would love to see in the sequel that sadly was never brought back. Now, one could say that many of these enemy encounters were only found in Bitter Black Isle, and that maybe Capcom is planning on bringing them back in a Dragon's Dogma 2 DLC. But even so, I feel the variety in Dragon's Dogma 2 so far is so limited that it gets a bit stale after your first 40 hours or so. The reason for this is that 90% of the time when traveling the world, you're fighting the same wolves, goblins, saurians and harpy enemy types. This could have been remedied by adding just 3 or more enemy types into the mix, and you would already have a much better variety. Boss encounters are also a bit scarce, and just adding more of these to the map would improve the gameplay loop and replayability. There is another comment here stating that they thought this was a DLC announcement. And yeah, I think a lot of us did. The first things my brain processed when looking at this title was Dragon's Dogma 2, Official and Trailer. Initially I thought, hey, this video is kinda misplaced 3 months after the release, and the title here is a bit goofy. But what if this actually is their marketing machine ramping up for a potential DLC reveal trailer or something? But I honestly think before releasing any kind of DLC this year or next year, PC and console optimization should be addressed first. I would even accept a big performance patch together with the DLC, that's fine. As long as the issues the community is facing are patched up as we play the DLC, I'm good with that. Then we have a couple of comments poking fun at Capcom, and some of these are actually funny. Like, why would you even mention the story in a video like this? Dragon's Dogma 2 was never about a brilliantly crafted story or character development. I would just double down on some of the hilarious mechanics that turn Cyclops into bridges and lets you unleash currents of water on your enemies. That's what people want to see. They did that so well with the character customization. People created all kinds of popular characters. That in turn boosted its popularity during launch. At this point, maybe I should reach out to Capcom and ask if I could be their community manager, or at least their public punching bag. And that leads me to their official X page and their latest posts over there. We quickly see that comments here are a bit more hostile, and the first one states, "I won't begin any journey until you fix performance on PC." So I know Digital Foundry did a review of one of the latest patches where some of the performance issues were addressed, but since this video only covered console improvements, it's understandable that people again feel like they're being cheated. I have very little knowledge about game development, but from what I know, it seems fixing performance, and especially with how NPCs are rendered in towns, is like changing the timing belt on a car without removing any of the parts to get to it. So what I'm trying to say is that it might be almost impossible at this point to patch performance, quote-unquote, but rather a fundamental change in how the RE engine is utilized in Dragon's Dogma 2 might actually be the only solution for Capcom. Another comment here from the Mad Badger over on Reddit really hits the nail on the head. So it's from a discussion where they talk about why the game's performance isn't fixed yet, and he states, "Because bigwigs, aka investors, don't care about gaming. They see it only as a company that makes money, so they don't care about the quality of a product as long as they can see a big enough profit. I think we as consumers, including including myself, forget sometimes that every company, even those one would think care for us, like hospitals, schools, etc., are in the end driven by one common goal, and that is profit. Now, there is of course a lot of companies that goes against that tide and leans more toward customer satisfaction before profit, and even some that are non-profit, but the gaming industry is certainly not one of them. I think the gaming industry in general, since they cater to a mostly impressionable younger audiences, always have had responsibility to not take advantage of that. But sadly, that is rarely taken into consideration when big game developers plan their next title. And Capcom is certainly no exception. They have big investors that count on Itsuno to deliver good numbers. It's sometimes easier to think that Hideaki Itsuno actually are able to pull all the strings and create his vision for Dragon's Dogma 2, but the reality is most likely very difficult for him. You have expectations from us gamers on one side and profit projections you need to meet on the other side. But even so, I think the marketing and post-launch support could have been handled differently. The patches have been focused on slight gameplay tweaks that doesn't really address the problems most people are facing right now. Melvo is a YouTuber who actually have been studying these new patches and have given some great overviews of hidden changes that also are rolled out with them. There's of course a reason why a lot of people are returning to these videos. The whole community is still eagerly awaiting the game to be properly patched. I think a bit more transparency would help Capcom a lot in this situation. That would for most people feel better than being kept in the dark about why these performance issues still are prevalent in the game. But I'm interested in what you guys think. The things we're talking about here are more mature topics, of course, but I know that our community here can handle that, so please give me your 5 cents and what your stance is on the state of the game right now. I'm starting my vacation this week, and that means I'll be working on finishing my mods and maybe even start on my Dragon's Dogma Online playthrough, since we have had a lot of progress with new quests being added lately. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys in the next one.